For today's sail, it's another one of those days where it started out really calm and I got some great sailing in, and then shortly after noon it just really started to pick up. So I'm coming out of a hove 2 position here. I just put in a double reef in the mainsail, and for the head sail I'm flying an 80% storm jib. So on this day, I was looking at the wind chart. The max gusts were 30 knots, but that was well after I left the lake. That was more in the evening. So during this sail, steady state winds are like 8 to 10, and then the gusts are in the high teens, low 20s. So right now, the boat's moving really well, 5.3 knots. I'm basically close hauled going into the wind. So when I'm sailing in these kinds of conditions, I do, end up kind of playing the mainsail quite a bit, making those adjustments. And the gusts here, tend to be pretty severe. They're not, it's not just like a couple miles an hour higher or a couple knots higher than the steady state winds. They can be, 15 or 20 knots higher than the steady state wind. So you really have to be, ready for the next big gust. So you can see I'm trying to lean out there a little bit, use my body weight, brace my feet, I'm holding on to the coaming. And you can see that when the boat heels, of course there's a little weather helm, so the boat wants to round up. And so I'm pulling the tiller toward me, trying to combat that weather helm and keep the boat on its course. And so, you want a little bit of weather helm, but if you're, putting in too much tiller, then, the rudder acts as a brake. And so you really kind of want to have more of a neutral helm or just a touch of weather helm. So here I'm having a little trouble getting the cam cleat to release on the jib sheet. So those things get really tight when the wind really picks up. And then here I just tighten it down to get the flutter out of the leech. So again, playing the mainsail a little bit. And you can see there's an island there to my port. And so I've got to clear the island. That's Bird Island. It's right in the middle of the lake. And so I do have to clear that. So that's a lee shore for me. Good gust right there. And again, you can see me pulling the tiller toward my body. And so I decided to pull up the centerboard a little bit. So I pull it up about a third. And that angles it back and moves the CLR aft. And so that reduces the weather helm a little bit. And you can see, now the tiller is pretty centered. And I did a video on centerboard operations on the P-18 a while back, and so I'll put a link to that video at the end. And so this is one of the clips that I used in my intro video from this sail, and it's also the day that I did my video on the chicken gybe. And so, I was out here, it was, you need some pretty good wind to talk about the chicken gybe. And so I decided, hey, I might as well shoot a video on the chicken gybe. So you'll see me start that in a second. So here I bear away, I let the sail out a little bit, and I bear away. You can see that island still on the port side, but it looks like I'm going to clear it. I go ahead, I put down the centerboard all the way down to reduce my leeway, so that way I'm not, going any closer to the island. And so, on a beam reach, when you let the sail out a little bit, bear away from the close hauled course, the beam reach is a little flatter, it's a little more calm. And so it's just really nice sailing. so here I'm just setting up to shoot my quick little video here, and I ended up doing this in one take. It's a pretty good video. I'll put a link at the end of the video to that little video on the chicken jibe, so you can see what that looks like. But yeah, so here I'm basically just talking about the chicken jibe and basically getting ready to demonstrate it, and it's the perfect conditions to do that kind of thing, so it works out really well. I think the video turned out good, so I'll show you a little bit of it right here. There's another technique called the chicken jibe. And what is a chicken jibe? Well, a chicken jibe is, instead of turning your stern through the wind, you actually turn all the way around and do a tack, and then bear away and come back down onto your new downwind course. So definitely check out that video. It's it's short. It's a really good little video on the chicken jibe and how to do that, and why you want to do it. So anyway, so I go ahead and sheet in. Now I don't sheet in like I normally would in lighter winds to a close hauled course before I do my tack. I just sheet in a little bit and use the momentum of the boat to bring the bow around and get onto my port tack here, and then I sheet out and bear away onto a downwind course. So that was the chicken jibe. And of course, when you're going downwind, the apparent wind reduces quite a bit, so it really makes it a little more relaxed. Of course, the boat can be a little slower, so 3.7 knots right here. But now, of course, you can see right in front of me, the issue here is that I'm heading straight toward Bird Island. So now I have to turn to starboard, and so I'm going to go ahead and just do a regular jibe. And so, this is a high wind jibe, and so you have to be really, really careful on the tiller and time it just right. And so you bring the stern through the wind, and then move the boom to the other side. And I go ahead and I accidentally released. I thought I had cleated off the main sheet, but I didn't, and so it went ahead and spooled all the way out. But that's okay. I'm just heading downwind. And so yeah, so that was my video on the chicken jibe. And then I decide to go ahead and try something I've never tried before, which is to go wing on wing in some pretty heavy winds. And of course, most people will say, hey, don't go, dead downwind in heavy wind. You always want to be on kind of a broad reach, because if the wind shifts, there's a risk of a crash jibe. And of course, with heavier winds, the forces involved and the speed at which the boom is going to come over is going to be much greater. But I felt comfortable with it. Again, when you're going downwind, it feels like there isn't as much wind. So I just wanted to try it out, and I'm also double-reefed, so that makes it a lot easier. And of course, the 80% sail is also smaller as well. But anyway, so I go ahead and try doing wing on wing for a little bit, dead downwind in these pretty heavy winds, and then I reach over and try and turn off my camera, and unfortunately, the camera's overheated, so it won't turn off. So I end up capturing a little more video. So there's Bird Island. You can hear the birds. So Bird Island here and Duck Island on the north end of the lake are both important protected habitats for birds within the state park here. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.